Annex A.8.29 mandates structured security testing for all applications and systems prior to release, ensuring that vulnerabilities are identified and mitigated before users or adversaries discover them. Testing must confirm not only that functionality meets requirements, but that the software withstands misuse and malicious input. This control reinforces the idea that verification is part of engineering, not an afterthought. Testing activities should span the entire development lifecycle, from early code analysis to final acceptance before deployment. The outcome is clear: evidence-based assurance that what the organization delivers meets both internal ISMS standards and external regulatory expectations for secure operation. Security testing comes in multiple complementary forms, each uncovering different classes of weakness. Static application security testing, SAST, examines source code for vulnerabilities such as injection flaws, insecure configurations, or improper input handling before the software is even compiled. Dynamic testing, DAST, evaluates the application in execution, simulating real-world use to detect runtime issues like authentication bypasses or data leakage. Penetration testing goes a step further, mimicking adversarial behavior to expose chained vulnerabilities that automated tools may miss. Fuzz testing feeds random or malformed inputs into applications to reveal hidden flaws in input handling or memory management. By combining these approaches, organizations achieve layered assurance that mirrors the complexity of modern threats. Integration of testing into project lifecycles is a defining characteristic of A.8.29. Security testing should be planned as part of project initiation, not added in the final sprint. Acceptance criteria must include measurable thresholds for security performance. For example, no high-severity vulnerabilities remain unresolved, or penetration test remediation verified prior to go-live. Findings from testing feed directly into risk assessments, guiding both design adjustments and compensating controls. Once vulnerabilities are addressed, retesting verifies that fixes are effective and have not introduced new issues. This closed-loop process ensures that testing contributes to continuous improvement rather than serving as a one-time checkbox. Operationally, ISO encourages independence and repetition to strengthen the credibility of testing. Whenever feasible, testing should be conducted or reviewed by teams not directly involved in the development effort, minimizing bias and tunnel vision. Systems must be retested following major updates, patches, or architectural changes, maintaining confidence in ongoing resilience. All test results, from automated scans to manual penetration findings, should be archived alongside project documentation, creating a permanent record for auditors and internal learning. Post-mortem analysis of findings should identify patterns, feeding lessons back into developer training and coding standards. In this way, every project contributes to the organization's collective knowledge base and strengthens future builds. Auditors reviewing compliance with A.8.29 look for structured documentation that demonstrates testing is systematic and repeatable. Test plans must outline scope, methodology, and acceptance criteria. Vulnerability reports and remediation logs provide proof that weaknesses were discovered and addressed. Approval records confirm that security testing was completed before systems moved into production. Contracts with vendors or integrators should explicitly require security testing and define the depth of validation expected. This documentation assures regulators and stakeholders that security validation is not optional or sporadic, but embedded within every release cycle. Neglecting structured testing has predictable and damaging consequences. Software released without proper validation can carry exploitable flaws that undermine entire business models. Patches applied hastily without verification may fix one issue while creating another, triggering outages or regressions. Without defined acceptance criteria, disputes arise between developers, suppliers, and stakeholders over what constitutes secure enough. In many incidents, rush deadlines lead teams to bypass testing entirely, leaving critical features exposed to the same attacks that proper validation could have prevented. These failures reinforce a simple truth: every vulnerability found after release costs exponentially more to fix than one discovered before deployment. Real-world industry practices highlight the necessity of structured testing. Banks mandate independent penetration testing before deploying online banking systems, verifying compliance with strict financial regulations. SaaS providers integrate automated security testing into continuous integration/continuous deployment (CI/CD) pipelines, preventing vulnerable builds from reaching production. Healthcare organizations validate patient portal access controls and audit logging as part of acceptance testing, ensuring patient data remains confidential. Government agencies often require independent acceptance testing by accredited third parties for all software procurements, using certification as a condition of release. Across all industries, the consistent theme is clear. Rigorous testing transforms trust into tangible evidence. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Annex A.8.30 addresses the unique challenges and risks introduced by outsourced development, a common reality in today's globalized software supply chain. Many organizations rely on external partners, contractors, or third-party vendors to accelerate delivery or fill skill gaps. However, every external contributor extends the organization's trust boundary and potentially its attack surface. This control ensures that security obligations are not diluted as projects move beyond internal teams. ISO IEC 27001 requires that the same rigor applied to internal development, design, coding, testing, and review must extend contractually and operationally to all external participants. The objective is not to restrict outsourcing, but to make it transparent, auditable, and accountable within the ISMS. Effective governance of outsourced development begins long before the first line of code is written. Supplier engagement controls define how vendors are selected, contracted, and managed throughout their engagement. Due diligence is performed to assess each vendor's security maturity, including certification status, coding standards, and data protection capabilities. Contracts must include explicit security clauses that mandate adherence to secure development policies, encryption standards, and vulnerability management processes. Right-to-audit provisions or third-party verification rights provide oversight beyond mere trust, allowing the organization to confirm compliance through evidence. Intellectual property and confidentiality clauses ensure that ownership of code, design artifacts, and trade secrets remains clearly defined, mitigating disputes and unauthorized disclosure. By embedding these terms into procurement, organizations align vendor accountability with internal expectations from day one. Once development begins, operational oversight ensures that security practices are followed in execution. Access to repositories, build systems, and development environments must be granted on a least privilege basis, only to verified individuals performing authorized tasks. Source code should reside in controlled version repositories with enforced multi-factor authentication and detailed audit logs. Internal teams must perform peer reviews and integration testing on all externally produced code before it merges into production baselines, ensuring alignment with internal standards and architectural patterns. Automated static analysis tools should run on every external code submission, detecting embedded secrets, insecure dependencies, or malicious artifacts. Traceability is essential. Every commit must link back to an identifiable developer, ticket, or work package, closing the accountability gap between outsourced contributors and final deliverables. Auditors evaluating compliance with A.8.29 expect clear and comprehensive evidence that outsourced development is governed systematically. Contracts must explicitly list security deliverables, such as penetration testing reports, code review documentation, and proof of vulnerability remediation. Records of supplier assessments and onboarding approvals demonstrate that vendors were evaluated before engagement. Repository access logs and activity reports provide verifiable tracking of who accessed what code, when, and from where. Independent validation reports, whether performed by internal teams or accredited third parties, show that vendor outputs meet organizational security standards. Together, these materials confirm that the organization has extended its ISMS boundary to include its external developers, ensuring no part of the development pipeline operates in darkness. The risks of unmanaged outsourcing are significant and, in some cases, existential. Malicious or careless vendors might introduce backdoors or hidden functionality that bypasses authentication and enables unauthorized access. Divergence from secure coding practices can leave entire modules riddled with vulnerabilities invisible to internal teams. Unclear contractual terms can lead to intellectual property disputes, with vendors retaining ownership of critical source code or design elements. Offshore or subcontracted development teams may operate under weaker legal jurisdictions, making enforcement of security obligations difficult. In a world of supply chain attacks and dependency hijacking, even a single unsecured vendor can undermine years of investment in internal security controls. ISO's requirements under A.8.30 aim to prevent these failures by enforcing uniform accountability across every contributor, regardless of geography or organizational boundary. Industry examples demonstrate how these principles translate into practice. Financial institutions subject to strict regulatory oversight routinely audit vendors developing trading or risk management applications, requiring them to maintain equivalent ISO 27001 or PCI DSS certifications. SaaS providers impose contractual requirements for third-party code to pass independent penetration testing and source code review before acceptance. Telecommunications companies limit offshore teams' access to sensitive infrastructure, routing their work through secured remote environments monitored in real time. Manufacturing firms employ code escrow arrangements, ensuring that critical software assets remain accessible if a vendor goes out of business or refuses cooperation. Across all sectors, these strategies balance flexibility with control, allowing organizations to leverage external expertise without sacrificing trust or compliance. When viewed together, Annexes A.8.29 and A.8.30 provide a full-circle model for software assurance. A.8.29 establishes how security testing verifies that systems, whether internally or externally developed, meet defined security expectations before release. A.30 ensures that those same expectations are upheld throughout outsourced development, preventing unverified code or unaccountable practices from entering the pipeline. Testing without vendor oversight leaves blind spots. Outsourcing without testing invites unknown risk. Combined, they produce an auditable chain of trust from initial design to final delivery, proving to auditors and customers alike that the organization's commitment to security extends end-to-end across its entire ecosystem. Together, these controls embody a mature, holistic approach to development assurance. Security testing validates outcomes. Supplier governance validates process. One confirms that what has been built is safe. The other ensures that how it was built is trustworthy. When organizations implement both effectively, they achieve resilience not only within their code, but within their supply chains, creating confidence that every application deployed, every update released, and every vendor engaged aligns with the principles of integrity, transparency, and accountability. Annexes A.8.29 and A.8.30 close the development lifecycle where it began, ensuring that security is not just designed and coded, but verified and sustained, regardless of who writes the code or where it comes from.